Well, hello there. Welcome to our Take 5 segment. This is on a Friday. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Hope you're going to enjoy the weekend. Well, what Take 5 is, you take 5 minutes out of your day, get a bit of a preview of what we're going to be looking at coming up on Sunday. And so the Sunday that we're looking forward to is the last Sunday of July, the 31st, before we launch into August, right? And August is pretty much back to school. So we hope that you'll join us at 10 o'clock in person. If not, you can get the message, what we're going to be discussing here in just a bit on our YouTube page. Hopefully you have checked out our website, www.myfaithchurch.org. Take advantage of some of the free resources that we have available for you, whether it's Right Now Media or instructions of how to download the YouVersion Bible application. You can click the resource page. You can find all of that there, as well as instructions of how to receive text message alerts. And those come in really handy as we send out some things on Monday that reinforces what we discuss on Sunday. Well, what are we going to look at coming up this Sunday on the 31st of July? Several years ago, when I was a youth pastor in my 20s, I had this bright idea that we would take a bunch of students down to Corden, Indiana, and many of you probably perhaps know where that is. It's right before you get into Kentucky. And we were going to go spelunking, right? That's just a fancy word for caving. We're going to do some outdoor things. We're going to go hiking, but really the main thing that we were going to do was that we were going to go walk through this cave guided tour. We got it all down. Everybody had a sign and release form. You get the little helmet, you get the little flashlight on your helmet. It's kind of a big deal. Well, this was something that I had discovered about myself on that trip, that little junior hires that are 5'90" can go through places that I cannot. And even though I was in my 20s, and this was a number of years ago, I discovered I don't like being in confined places. Now, about 60% of this caving tour, open spaces, you're walking around big places, but there were certain spots where you had to crawl. You had to crawl on your belly, you had to crawl on your hands and knees. Sometimes there were situations where I found myself stuck. There was actually one particular spot where I found myself sort of tipping over, and my feet were in the air, my head was in the other direction, and the only thing that was keeping me wedged in this little V, these rock, was my left hand. And I had about 5 foot to go before I could get to an open spot. And so I moved myself, wedged myself through this particular spot, and I realized I don't like this. I didn't realize before that I was claustrophobic. There was another occasion as we were going through this cave where I was crawling on my belly and going through this spot, and I got a little tired, and I decided I'm just going to take a big inhale breath. And I couldn't do it because the top of the cave came in contact with my back, and I couldn't fully expand my lungs, and I started to panic a little bit. And I didn't show it. Nobody realized what was going on, but I started doing one of these, like kind of like, Lamaze for 20-some-year-old fat guys. So I was stuck, and I realized I don't like this. So after I got out of that cave, I never went caving again, never scheduled another youth event where we could go spelunking, avoided that at all possible costs, right? Now, the reason why I'm telling you this, not because I want you to say, hey, Matt, let's go caving, and make me feel uncomfortable, but nobody likes, feeling stuck. We're going to look at a passage of scripture on Sunday in the Old Testament where there were 4 guys who were stuck. They couldn't go forward, they couldn't go backwards, they couldn't go side to side. They had about 3 options, and all of them not good. All of them really just led to death in their mind. So they chose the sort of the least path of resistance, and they just figured, well, we're going to die. If there's a slight chance that we might make it through this, let's just go in this direction. And what they discovered that God had intervened in an incredible way. And they rejoiced and they celebrated this freedom. They expected to find death. They expected to find condemnation and enslavement. But instead, they found that God had intervened in an incredible way. And they relished in that, and they celebrated that. And then they got to this point to where they said, we need to share this because there are other people that we know where we came from who are stuck just like we are. Over the past month, we've been talking about how the Great Commandment, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, and the Great Commission, which is go and make disciples, how these two things are connected, how these two things are linked. If you have made an incredible discovery, you have a responsibility to share that discovery with others. And so we're going to look at a passage of scripture. It's in the Old Testament. It's an unfamiliar passage of scripture. We're going to have to check out either in person or on YouTube what this particular passage of scripture is. But it is one of my favorite accounts in all of the scripture. Not really a well-known story, but definitely worth checking out. Well, the Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. May his face shine upon you. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.